Welcome to the Small Business Made Simple podcast, brought to you by socialmediaandmarketing.com.au. Being in business is never easy, but it can be simple, or at least simpler. Join me, your host Jen Donovan, every week where we focus on marketing, social media, and working towards simplifying your business. You with me? Let's do this.
Gonna dream it big, 'cause someone out there listening. Everyone's got a voice to give, and it's time I heard you whistling, 'cause there's no point at all, in dreaming small,
Why, hey there, my fabulous listener. Welcome to episode 215 of the Small Business Made Simple podcast. Today, I have a guest on and we are lifting the veil on HR for small businesses. It's a great conversation. I can't wait to share it with you. Thank you, as always, for lending me your ears today. I know you have lots of choices out there and I really do appreciate you making me and my business one of them, or my podcast, I should say, my podcast, one of them. If you are enjoying this podcast and you could take a screenshot and share it on your socials and tag me, that would be super cool because I'd love to get to know you a little bit as well. Now, don't forget, before I get into today's episode, that you can find all the show notes for this podcast at socialmediaandmarketing.com.au/215. Did you get a chance to listen to last week's episode on 214 where I chatted about what content I think you should be creating for your content, for your business? It was a great little episode. It was kind of just touching on a few parts around creating content, but a really great formula in there as well. If you haven't listened to that one, then after you finished here, slip back to 214 and listen to that podcast for some more small business gold. And if you haven't already, a small little favour, I'm collaborating with some amazing Australian thought leaders for the first ever Big Small Business Survey. We really want to amplify the voices of small businesses heading into 2023 and see what's holding you back and where you think the biggest opportunities lay for your business and for yourself, and what you'd like to see done differently. If you could take 5 minutes out of your time and fill in the survey, I would be so grateful. There is an opportunity for you to receive $500 worth of freebies from the 5 of us that are doing this survey. You can do it anonymously. You don't have to get the freebies, but you can leave your email address if you would like to. So to do the survey, go to bit.ly/smallbizsurvey2022, or go to the bigsmallbusinesssurvey.com and you will find it there. Thank you in anticipation of you doing that. That would be such a help to myself and my collaborators. And if you're feeling extra generous, please share it with your family, your friends, or even your small business audience. But on to today's episode. Now, if you are a new listener, you may not know this, but if you are a long-time listener, then you will know that I am the repurposing content queen. I love to repurpose content. And today I'm actually repurposing a Facebook Live that I did with Karen Bryant from Latitude Recruitment, all about HR and HR for small businesses. I do choose which ones I repurpose, but this one was just too good not to share. It was actually, like I said, a Facebook Live that I did in my Like-Minded Business Owners Facebook group. Karen made some super interesting points about HR, even if you are a small or even a solo business owner. And, she just made some really interesting points on how important some aspects of HR are for growing your business, no matter the size of your business. So because it is repurposed, though, you will have to forgive me for any references to live speak that I might do, such as, comment below or leave your questions. Clearly, that's not possible through a podcast. But if you are keen to ask Karen any questions, then head to the Like-Minded Business Owners Facebook group where we did the live recording. Find the interview under videos and ask your questions there using the hashtag replay. Or you know what? Just come to the show notes at socialmediaandmarketing.com.au/214 and you will find all of Karen's contact information there as well. Anyway, let's get on to today's episode. Here is my chat with Karen all around HR for small business. Thank you so much, Karen, for coming on. And sorry about the little mix up that we had with deleting calendars,
It was fun.
stuff like that. Like, anything is possible in the world of Gen these days for sure. So we're coming on. I've got you as one of my guest speakers to come and chat to us about HR and HR with small businesses and really, I guess, lifting the veil on, why as small business owners we should be thinking more around HR. But can you explain for anyone watching now and of course anyone watching the replay who you are, what your business is about, and a little bit about what HR is?
Sure.
Big
So my
question
name,
to
yeah,
start.
that's a lot. I'm not going to remember all of them, all those. So my name is Karen Bryant. I run a company called Latitude Recruitment. We run out of Mount Gambier in the southeast of South Australia. We've also just moved into Western Victoria. We do recruitment, permanent, and also HR support for different size businesses. But a bit of a passion of mine is HR for small businesses because I feel like it's just so important and it can make such a difference. And I think I've missed one piece.
That's okay.
The question I think I missed.
So I guess, running a HR firm in a rural regional type area kind of lends itself to perhaps the first myth or the first busting of the first myth that this is only for big business. So I guess what is HR and how does it adapt to small business? Because when I think about HR, I think of HR departments.
Yeah, and look, most people do, I think, and most people think, oh no, that's just for really complex stuff, big multinationals or hundreds and hundreds of employees. But how it can be so important for small business and why I think it's so important is because if you have some key HR practices in place, it means you can retain your staff for longer. They're going to be higher performing, less, you're going to lower your absenteeism rate. All of these really important things that really make a difference in a small business. If you're getting your team to perform better, that can really make an enormous difference to your bottom line. So yeah, it's really exciting, I think, for smaller businesses as well to take charge a little bit.
Yeah, okay. So I guess we premised today with talking about how we can use HR to move the needle in our business. So moving the needle can mean a lot of things. It can mean profitability, it can mean retention of staff, it can mean more turnover. But when you kind of talk about moving the needle and using HR, what aspect of business are you looking at?
That's a good question. I think for me, it's a couple of different things. I do look at the bottom line. I think, well, that is obviously really important. We need to have, a healthy bottom line to be able to stay in business.
Yeah, exactly.
Almost making yourself kind of obsolete a little bit. If you've trained up your staff well enough, if you have given them enough ownership, then you can take a day off or you can take a holiday or you can, have that freedom that most of us probably wanted when we got into business.
Yeah,
and don't feel like you can do. So if you have those, HR practices, then there's all of this other really great stuff that isn't to do with money, but you get your time and have that freedom that most of us really, really want.
So before I start asking you about what HR practices you are talking about, I guess what about for like the micro small business owner, potentially like myself who, I don't have a team. I have a team of contractors. Yep. So I contracted virtual assistants, but I don't actually have staff as such. So can HR still apply to a solopreneur or someone who perhaps doesn't have employees but has more contractors?
Yes, but it definitely can, but probably in a different context. You're not I think it's more about giving your expectations to those contractors when you're hiring them or you're onboarding them, making sure everyone's really clear about what you're looking for, how it's going to work, your time frames, and just making sure it's all really transparent. I think is probably the best way to tackle HR for a micro business, to make sure that you're getting what you're wanting rather than saying, oh, they're not doing exactly what I'm looking for. So I think that's probably the key with a micro business, just communicating with those contractors in a really positive way and making sure that everyone's clear on what's happening when and at what quality level and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, okay, beautiful. So what's the biggest mistake that small business owners make when it comes to HR? other than not having it at all?
Other than not having it, the biggest one is a really, really simple one. It's just not talking. It's not talking to their employees, not actually engaging them on either giving them feedback or giving them constructive feedback to say, hey, that, this is how I need you to do this, or I saw that you did this way. Can we try it like this? This is how I would like you to do it. Or just giving that feedback, because then what happens is people, employees think, I'm doing the right thing. I haven't heard anything different. And then, they might get fired, or, there might be some sort of ramifications later, but it could have been really stopped by just one conversation earlier on saying, hey, can you do this differently? Or these are the behaviors we want you, that we really need in this organization, or these are what we want you to demonstrate, or whatever it may be. But just talking to people and letting them know, yes, this is great, you are doing an amazing job, or hey, can we, giving some constructive feedback back, I think is the biggest mistake, because so many staff I talk to, so no, my manager doesn't give me any feedback. So
yeah,
or I don't know if we haven't discussed growth, or I haven't discussed that, because they just don't carve out the time to talk about that. So yeah, it's the biggest one.
Does that mean the second biggest mistake that employers can make is actually not listening as well? So if they're not giving feedback, is one of their mistakes actually not, like, I guess in the past as an employee, I have kind of found that there is a better way of doing things. So I've come from law. So law, I'm sorry for anyone who might be listening, is full of dinosaurs. So sometimes they're like, there's a better way of doing that. But sometimes people won't listen. So yes, giving constructive feedback, but also, I guess, taking the time to listen to someone that they might have a better way.
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the time businesses, and I hate when this happens, when they go, oh, that's the way it's always been done.
Ooh, yeah.
That's the answer. Like, that's not an answer. If we've got a better way, then let's try it. Or, not be willing to kind of experiment, because and if the people that are doing the work are going to have much better ideas about how to optimize it and how to make a process better than someone who only does it a certain amount of time. So, the people that are actually doing whatever it is in your business, you think, well, they're going to have a better idea, because that's where they're spending most of their time. And be willing to experiment a little bit. It doesn't, as long as you're not going to break anything too badly, give it a go, change a process or change something. If someone's got an idea, test it out and see what happens. What's the worst thing that can happen? It might improve, it might not, but at least your staff think, oh, great, they're willing to give my ideas a go. And I think that's almost the key thing here, that, your staff believe that you will listen to them and take on board their suggestion. So that's really,
there's a whole TV show built around that. I can't remember what it's called now, but it's where the bosses go in and as an employee and that sort of thing, to learn from people on the ground, there's a whole TV show written around it. But I guess one of the things that you must be dealing with a lot at the moment is staff retention. There's a whole summit going on in Canberra at the moment. There's so much talk about how, I know myself, friends, family, clients, they can't find staff. It's a really big issue. Can I ask you firstly, what you're seeing from your point of view, and also maybe even some tips and tricks on how to retain staff?
Yeah, look, recruitment at the moment is very, very tough. There's just seems like there's so many people just not around to take up, quite good jobs, whether that's city or country. But I have often talked about as well, a lot of employers are screaming out for, yes, we need more people, but what are they actually doing to retain their current staff? Because if they aren't doing something, then chances are your staff might actually jump ship and go somewhere else. There are loads of jobs around, loads of great jobs that, if you're not actively trying to retain your staff, then they might as well jump ship, they may jump ship anyway.
Yeah, and I guess money isn't always the only way to retain them.
No, not at all. And it doesn't have to be money. It can be listening to them, or it can be just making sure they feel heard and valued, or offering flexibility so they can still kind of run their life and have a job that they enjoy. Flexibility coming out of COVID has been the biggest thing, that people don't want to have to sit in an office from 9 till 5. They want to be able to go to the dentist or go to the gym or whatever it is. But, if you can be flexible with your staff and give them a bit of, you feel like you get ownership of your life again, rather than having to do all of your personal things at, after 5 p.m. or Saturdays and Sundays, if you're an office person. But yeah, retaining staff, talking to them and learning what they want. It can be different for different people. Some people are motivated by money, but a lot might be flexibility. It might be praise. It might be getting to do team bonding activities, or just, I think, talking to them and knowing what their triggers are and what does appeal to them is almost the key, because it will be different for different people. But making sure that you are providing that open communication is going to be the first way to get that information.
Yeah. And certainly, when I had my retail business, we had monthly staff meetings. And sometimes there was just so much gold that came from my staff, and we were hands-on bosses. Like, we worked in the business alongside them, but things that like different perspective and even some really cool marketing ideas that they had and that sort of thing. Like, it was a bit of an eye opener for a start that, I didn't expect that was going to come from that. But, talking about HR and HR practices, can you give us some of your best tips or tricks around that?
My best one, and I think the one I most often say, is how often are you meeting individually with your team? So that's what I say to most people, and most people say, one-on-one yearly to do their performance appraisal or something to that effect.
Because the key word there is individually, isn't it?
Yes, that one-to-one time. So ideally, weekly is great. I mean, I do weekly for my team. It might be, if you absolutely can't, maybe do fortnightly, but you really want that time. And I take 15 minutes, and I have a small team, so I can get through everyone in about an hour. But we have a chat and we go through some basic questions. It's literally every week: how are you? How was your workload? Do you have too much work? Do you not have enough work? Is there anything I can do to help? Do you have any barriers that I can help you with today? And so they usually run relatively similarly, but it just, sometimes when someone does open up, it is really impactful, and you can really go, okay, great, we can help with this. No, if it's someone saying, I'm having some mental health, I need a mental health time, or, I'm really having this problem with a client, or I wanted to handle this on my own, but you can really have that time to help and actually get that one-on-one focused time. And like I said, mine take 15 minutes. It doesn't have to be an enormous amount of time. It's very simple, and it's just to talk about how they've been. And it's also a great time for praise, saying you did a really great job this week, or that's the time you would comment on those behaviors. If you saw a behavior or a task that wasn't particularly completed how you liked, that's the perfect time, because then it's really only a week between correcting something that you have seen that you didn't appreciate, or something that it's really quickly, so it doesn't fester into some big problem. It's really quickly brought to a head and thought, hey, can we do it like this, or can you change it, or whatever it is. It's not as much of a big deal if you let something go on and on. So that's my biggest tip: talk to your people one-on-one every week in a private setting. And just see if they're okay, especially in this post-COVID world. Check on everyone, because it's very tough at the moment, or it has been for the last few years. Check how people are. Do they need time? Do they need anything? Can you help in any way? And that's the way I like to lead my team, just to show that, we can, we can fix things, or we can take time if you need time. So
would you say you're in the minority or majority doing that? I actually am racking my brain to try and think of who I know that does that, and I'm coming up trumps.
Definitely minority, but I do think people should do it with their direct reports only. I mean, if you've got a slightly bigger business, only do it with your direct reports, but have your direct reports to do it with if you've got a much larger team. So everyone meets with their manager for a small amount of time each week. And definitely in the minority, but I just see it as really powerful, because I'm really confident that my team love what they do and really enjoy the business and really enjoy working as a team. And if something annoys them, I know really quickly. Or, if they say, and we have that, when I am hiring, we all work remotely. So I say, look, it's not going to work unless we're really quite brutally honest with each other. If you don't like something, tell me. And if there's something, that I don't like, I'll tell you. So we really have that honest approach. So if they're not happy so I think getting that honesty, that buy-in from the start is really important.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I guess magic, because you really quickly know what they're liking, what they're not liking, and how to keep them happy, basically.
Yeah, I'd actually say now I've had a bit of time to think about it. I think multi-level marketing does this quite well. I'm not a big fan of multi-level marketing, but their teams, you are always hearing from a team member, aren't you? And that, they actually, there might be
and I guess
something there that we have to
you get that feedback loop on how you're performing and how definitely. But it works just to because a lot of people don't do it, and then a problem will come up, and then the owner says to me, I didn't realize they were looking to leave. So, well, did you talk to them? No, I haven't done that in months. Oh, well, that could be an issue. So it's definitely helpful to do a pulse check on how everyone's going.
And if you're a solopreneur, maybe check in with yourself once a week.
Yeah,
are you still enjoying what you're doing?
And checking if you've got KPIs or something, how you're going, and is it where you want to be, and all of that sort of stuff, and checking goals for next week. But that time to reflect, I think, is really important.
Is there anything, have you got a second tip for us?
Oh, let me see. The next one is kind of following along, so it could be cheating, but a team meeting. So a lot of the time people say, oh, we do a team meeting like once a month or once every now and then, or we've got a group chat or something. But it is really good to have a meeting once a week. And I know I don't want to clog up everyone's calendars with meeting, but having a small team meeting where everyone can put things on the agenda. We do it through a Trello board. We have our team meeting agenda. So someone can put something on there, and then in our team meeting, we just quickly go through it. It really just makes sure everyone's getting the same communication and no one's feeling left out or thinking, oh, I didn't know about that, or I've got a problem, but I'm not sure where to raise it. So it's just a really quick one. We get through ours in about 30 to 45 minutes, depending on what's brought up. But it's just, again, a really good way to give out information. We open ours up with a weekly win. So everyone goes around and says, we do them on Zoom. This was, the weekly win for me. So we, try and celebrate a little bit to start it off on a positive note. And then, we've got some other bits and pieces that we check through. And then, it's another good way just to communicate with everyone. So everyone is on board and is really transparent about what's happening or not happening. And then, that's another really good one.
Yeah, great. I guess I started the conversation asking, what do small business owners not do well? Is there anything that you see that they do well? I don't always want to harp on the negative. Is there anything that you see particular teams or particular people that you work with actually doing well in this space?
I think it sometimes varies from industry that we work with. A lot of now, a lot of trades or manufacturing really do safety well, which is amazing, and doing toolbox talks. And that's really nice to hear, because when you see a company that is really putting safety first and they're caring about their people, you think, fabulous. That's such a good sign that they're willing to put their money where their mouth is, keep everyone safe, and make sure that everyone, goes to work. They can go home in the same way they arrived. That's what we want. So safety, depending on industry, obviously, is a really good one. I've seen some, some businesses that are generally office-based businesses be really supportive around COVID, sending hampers and kind of care packages every time someone has COVID. So that's been quite a lot lately.
That probably didn't seem like it was going to be so expensive at the start.
No, when they I don't think that was costed into the budget. So it's just kept going. But, that is really nice. And I've been speaking to people in that organisation, and the staff have all said, that was fabulous. I really felt like they cared. So just having that care factor when someone's sick or going through a tough time or something, it might be sending flowers if a family, I don't know, it might be, sending flowers or a bottle of wine or some chocolates or just something if someone's going through a tough time, or sick with COVID or something, but it's just that, hey, we care about you, we're thinking about you. That's a really nice thing to do.
Yeah. So it kind of does come back a little bit to like, I know that everybody's business feels like a family, but the general I guess values of is that it is, you want them to be safe, you want them to feel cared for and that they belong. Like really they're the core elements of belonging to a family. So, it's not that you have to be best friends or treat them like, your brothers and sisters, although that's probably the way you would treat them.
Yeah.
But it is, I guess, it sounds very, creating that, almost like that family around your workers. Very interesting. Karen, this has been such a great chat and I really love those tips. I think that anyone who's been listening or watches on the replay, and if you are watching on the replay, please use #replay. Ask Karen any questions that you might have. But I think you've probably really made people prick their ears once a week. Like you say, like even if they can't do once a week, what are they doing once a fortnight, once a week? Creating that change, I guess. For anyone who's been listening or watching on the replay, or when this is turned into a podcast, listening to the podcast, what do you offer and how can you help small businesses?
Wonderful. So thank you. It's been really fun to have a chat. We do recruitment services, like I said, for southeast of South Australia, so around Mount Gambier and Western Victoria, kind of focused on the Horsham region. But we also do online HR support, so we can help, and we ideally want to stick with kind of regional, remote businesses, just because that's our experience, which is great. We offer, and everything's really tailored to what the business needs. So we can come in and do full reviews of employee engagement or something like that, or just have a chat about the things we've been talking about today. Hey, why don't you implement this, or have a think about this? So it can be kind of as big or as little as people like. Sorry, what was the other part? So that's what
I think that was the part.
I think that was it. Yeah,
I've got to stop asking 3 or 4 prong questions. Clearly,
I know. So that's what we do, and we love working with small businesses because you really feel like you get to
just see the change.
Really make a difference, and it's becomes so passionate for us when we either place a candidate or we have given small businesses, hey, this is the structure you could follow that would really help you here. Seeing that in practice just makes me so happy and thinks, wow, I've really done something, we've created something that's helped someone. So that's just so rewarding.
Yeah, beautiful. Was there anything else on your list that we haven't chatted about that you wanted to jump in about before we take off? Or have we covered everything?
I don't think so. I think I think don't be afraid of HR. I think a lot of people are terrified, thinking I'm going to get it wrong. But if you're coming from it from the right place and you're not doing anything illegal, then you're probably going to be okay. So that's definitely the best place to start. Just give it a try. Start with something small, and make baby steps. Start communicating. Start talking to staff more about what they're looking for, what would help in their role, how you could change things to help them, and see where it goes.
Yeah, beautiful. Great parting words. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And you've left lots of wisdom that I'm sure that everybody will be excited and also stretched to perhaps have heard.
Get in contact with me and we can talk about it. I'll try and help.
Yeah, beautiful. All right. Thank you so much, Karen. We'll
Thanks,
catch you
Jen.
again
It was great
soon.
to chat to you.
See you. Bye. How did you go with that interview? It was great, wasn't it? Did you learn something you didn't already know, or did she make you think about HR for small businesses just a little bit differently? Chatting with Karen was so interesting, and I know as a small business owner, it made me think a little bit differently about my growth strategy going forward into 2023. Again, all the links for getting in touch with Karen are in the show notes at socialmediaandmarketing.com.au/214. And as always, If you want to chat about your marketing strategy, if you have one, or you want it to work better for you with your funnels and your nurture sequences, then let's have a chat. You can always book a discovery call with me. The link, of course, is in the show notes. Otherwise, let's have a chat in my Like-Minded Business Owners Facebook group. If you aren't a member yet, come and join over there. But otherwise, I will see you next week on the podcast for episode 216. But just a really gentle reminder, if you haven't done the small business survey, please head over there and do the small business survey. Again, you can find it at thebigsmallbusinesssurvey.com. And if you have an extra 5 minutes, I know I'm asking a lot today, aren't I? If you'd like to leave a rating and a review where you're listening to this podcast, then that would be really good as well. But in the meantime, let's get social on social. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and of course, LinkedIn. But whatever you do, remember, my small business peeps, as my opening song says, there is no point in dreaming small.
No time like the present. Tell it like you feel it, say it proud, be true, and let us see you for the star that you are. No point in dreaming small.
I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, the Yorta Yorta people, on which I record this podcast and conduct my business today, and pay my respects to their elders, past and present. I extend this respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here with us today as well.